Hello and welcome to the latest video in this series in which we look at useful vocabulary for the IELTS exam. In this video today we have 25 phrases for you to talk about frequency. Questions about frequency are very common in part 1 of the IELTS speaking test. So you can get questions from the examiner such as, how often do you read newspapers? Which social media sites do you use? What do you do with your holiday photographs? How do you normally spend your holidays? If you think back to when you were an elementary level student, you probably learnt some ways to talk about frequency, in particular the adverbs that are on this slide. So you probably learnt that never means 0% of the time, and then increasing rarely, don't often, sometimes, often, usually, and always. These are, of course, absolutely correct ways of talking about frequency, but as we've talked in other videos, you need to show the examiner that you have a wide range of vocabulary and that we can use words beyond what you learnt at elementary level. So the first alternative phrase we're going to look at is in the format of number of times per period. So for example, I read a newspaper once or twice a week. I go abroad every year, or we could say I go abroad once a year. I visit my hometown once a fortnight. If you're not familiar with the word fortnight, it means 2 weeks or 14 days. I sign into LinkedIn 3 or 4 times a year. Another way that we can talk about this is to use the words daily, weekly, monthly, and annually. So going to the gym is part of my daily routine. In other words, it's something that I do every day. I meet my boss on a weekly or monthly basis. So if I meet him weekly, it's once every 7 days. If I meet him monthly, it's once every 4 weeks. I make an annual trip to see my grandparents. So once a year, I go and visit my grandparents. On the next slides, we're going to look at some less common and more idiomatic ways of talking about frequency. So this first page, you'll see that I've written 100%. That's because these phrases correspond roughly with always. So my father would get up and read the paper every Sunday like clockwork. In other words, it's like a clock. You can depend on this to be right. I've been to Spain every year on holiday without fail. So every year I go, I have never missed a year. I always go there. I talk to my friends on WhatsApp around the clock. So this means that every hour of the day I'm talking to my friends on WhatsApp. Obviously I do sleep, but we mean that all of the hours that we're awake, we're using WhatsApp, or just about. Some more that have a similar meaning to always: at every opportunity. So I check my Facebook at every opportunity. So every time when I don't have something else to do, the first thing I do is go to Facebook. Any opportunity I get, I travel somewhere new. So maybe that doesn't mean that I actually do it a lot, but whenever I have the opportunity to do it, whenever the chance is there, when I have the time and the money. And similarly, whenever I get the opportunity, I show people my travel photos. So if you want to talk about something that's more like often or usually, we can use phrases like more often than not, you can find me updating my status. Or I regularly forget to do anything with my holiday photos. For things which are less frequent, so we've got 20 to 40% here, so we're thinking less than often, maybe don't often, possibly rarely. Now and again I like to visit a museum on holiday. So I don't go to a museum every time I go on holiday, only sometimes. From time to time I like to watch political programs to keep up to date. So again, I'm not a big fan of watching political programs. I don't watch them every day. Maybe once a month I turn on and there's a political program on, so I might watch it just to stay up to date. If we want to talk about things that rarely happen, how about this one? Once in a blue moon, I buy a newspaper. Why a blue moon? I don't know, but how often is the moon blue? Not very. So, therefore, I don't buy a newspaper very often. So try yourself. Here are the questions from earlier. Practice answering them and see if you can use any of the new phrases. Thank you very much for watching. Please support this channel by subscribing. You can also visit our website at www.ielts-ace.com, and please also visit and like our Facebook page www.facebook.com/IELTS Ace 1. Hope to see you soon for our next video.